We have a stellar panel on climate tech. We have heavy industries. We have a panel that works in heavy industries and also in the startup ecosystem. So let's dive deeper into this conversation. Uh, Vishal, I'll start with you. Um, a quick note into what your company is doing in this place.
Hi, this is Vishal, co-founder and CTO at Varaha. Before I talk about Varaha or my company, it's genuinely great to see climate tech discussions happening at a tech forum, right? So it was unheard of when we were invited. We were just talking back room. So yeah, I mean, it's genuinely great to see us being discussed in a technology forum. And yeah, at now about Varaha, we are Asia's largest carbon removal company. We essentially help companies go carbon neutral, right? So I head the technology and product development at Varaha. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Venkat Rajaraman. I'm the founder CEO of Cygni Energy. We build battery energy storage, predominantly lithium and alternative technologies. We have done so far about 200 megawatt hour of installations, and we have also sort of powered about 200,000 electric vehicles. Our focus is predominantly to sort of build reliable, scalable, and cost-effective energy storage solutions for real world conditions, especially market like India, which is in my opinion one of the best use case for making sure that the technology works. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Pavandeep. I represent Attero. We are urban miners, basically recycling electronic waste, lithium-ion batteries, catalytic converters, and rare earth magnets, and producing pure metals which can be incorporated in the supply chain. So we help the ecosystem rather than mining, be an urban miner and bring these products back into the economy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Kalyan Bhattacherjee from Jindal Stainless Limited, India's largest stainless steel manufacturing company. And yes, I represent the heavy industry and excited to be in this discussion and how industry can collaborate with tech to develop more intelligent system, traceable and transparent systems, making best use of the technology, AI. And we at the Jindal Stainless, we have taken leaps in several decarbonization initiatives and our climate actions across our manufacturing value chain. So we have one of the initial PPAs, wind solar hybrid renewable energy PPAs. We have signed back-to-back 3 PPAs to 1 gigawatts, and we have got several others initiatives, piloting, and a few of the first movers in the industry. So that's about Jindal Stainless. So I'm here. Thanks. And my co-panelists, excited to have a fruitful discussion with my co-panelists.
Thank you. My first question is to you. Please take the mic back. So,
Yes,
heavy industries have their own set of challenges when it comes to decarbonization. It's very unique in its own way. And being the largest stainless steel manufacturer, I guess you also have the responsibility on your shoulders to make it right. So what are the kind of innovations you're deploying, and what are the shifts that you anticipate to see in stainless steel making?
Okay, so as I said, we are one of the first movers in industries and deploying several solutions in climate action. But then our focus is to have a commercially viable solutions which are practical today as the near-term interventions, and looking forward to long-term technological shifts, closely monitoring things such as CCU, carbon capture, battery energy storages, and several other initiatives which presently look at a distant solution, but how to integrate in our value chain, how to integrate them into our manufacturing processes without sacrificing our growth or profitability. That remains our first and foremost action, is that we do not see them as opposing priorities, the climate action and sustainability. What we try is that we try to integrate these things into our value chain, where we can realize the results quickly and also transition into the deep decarbonization technologies. Those are necessary where you cannot replace the conventional technology. So the carbon removal has to happen for those technologies which we deploy in our manufacturing processes. Those cannot be immediately replaced with green technologies. There we have to employ these deep decarbonization or carbon removal things. So in Jindal Stainless, as I mentioned, that we have signed about 1 gigawatts of renewable energy. We were the first one to pilot in steel industry. We were the one to pilot with the green hydrogen solution. Having succeeded in that, we are now expanding our green hydrogen footprint, our manufacturing green hydrogen for our steel conversion processes. And in everything, we are finding values, and these solutions, it's actually inspiring us to go even more and discover technologies. Those are immediately deployable and also gives us value in return. Then comes enhanced scrap utilization, deployment of technologies, AI-driven and tech-driven initiatives which provide your data accuracy, data transparency across the value chain, and then possibility of reporting, the carbon reporting and transparency reporting. So these all together basically integrating our climate-related initiatives and the tech. This thing is providing us the leverage in adopting these things faster. And going forward, we hope to see that how we can deeply integrate AI-driven, that's kind of manufacturing processes, where we have entire handle on the energy efficiency, manufacturing processes, and asset optimization, predictive maintenance, and all these things driven through technology. So we are heavily now investing in this and looking forward to implementing it within next couple of years. We have already started implementing our data lakes and then developing our digital platform. Also, that will be enhanced with the intelligence AI layer. And these all things we have already started. So this is where we see that we are poised, that heavy industry, the challenges that the heavy industry face, we are poised to address these through our initiatives which we have already taken since the past. And it's not something we are jumping in new, and these have been our proactive approach rather than reactive. So we are prepared for that kind of regulatory shifts or the customer preferences. So we are looking forward to having more such dialogues which brings us closer to alternate technologies, alternate energies, and being ready, future-ready organization. That's.
Thank you.
That answers your question.
Yes. Moving on to you, Pavan. With EV adoption increasing in India, how do you plan to scale battery recycling without compromising on the environmental safeguards?
So talking about the EV expansion in India, we look at the complex issue of how the batteries are being created. They have multiple critical metals and rare earth metals in it. And the priority to extract material out of it depends on two aspects. The first one is the technology. If you have the technology, you can definitely extract those metals. And second is the environment. How sustainable solutions can you create? And what category of material you can extract which can be incorporated in the supply chain or not. So at Attero, what we have developed is a process for lithium-ion battery recycling, which is a combination of mechanical and hydrometallurgy, where we are able to extract the metals with an efficacy of 98%. And that too, all the metals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese, with an extraction efficacy of 98%, and the output metals are green metals with low carbon footprint, as we do not mine Rather, we use the products which are of end of life and we utilize them and extract products out of it. So the carbon emissions, if I just give you an example, if we are mining today lithium carbonate from the brim process, it requires 500k gallons of water. And lithium is found in the driest region of the world, that is Argentina belt. So 1 ton of lithium would require 500k gallons of water. In our process, we are almost able to save 99% of water emissions which are required. So our lithium carbonate is 99% carbon neutral in comparison to which is mined from the earth. Similar way, if we talk about, there are precious metals in electronic waste, ranging from gold, silver, tin, all such products are found. These products, while mining, have large amount of carbon footprint emissions which are there. In our process, we are able to save 99.9% of carbon emissions while extracting gold. So, as an organization, we are India's largest e-waste recycler and the world's most advanced lithium-ion battery recycler, holding currently 47 granted patents world over, another 200 applied for, and working on a sustainable solution, bringing these metals back into the circular economy. So Attero is there with the technology to help manage all the end-of-life feedstock which is available in India. And this technology upliftment would help manage all the EV end-of-life material which is available in India and develop our own supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you. It was great to have that insight. Moving on to you, sir. Battery innovation is critical. So what breakthrough in chemistry and design you are working on to balance safety, scale, and cost?
Okay, yeah. So battery innovation is a fairly hot topic these days, especially for India. I think whenever we talk about innovation, the narrative very quickly moves to innovation in battery chemistry. I'll come to that, but I think before that, I truly believe that there is a tremendous amount of innovation that is possible at the system engineering side, at the thermal management side, at the how you handle the safety of the batteries and so on and so forth. But I'll take up the first. On the chemistry side today, the dominant chemistry is what is called as LFP, which is the lithium ferrophosphate. Which today, world over, you have got more than 3 terawatt hours of manufacturing facility, which is 3,000 gigawatt hour plus. So today, including India, I think the dominant chemistry today is still LFP. But I also believe on the chemistry side, there is a huge opportunity for alternate chemistry, especially chemistries like sodium ion. We are still not there, but that is the direction that we need to take. Because of course there is a less dependence on critical minerals that what Pavandeep talked about, and also it has got its own sort of benefits in terms of zero cost transport, safety, operational at higher temperatures and so on and so forth. The rest of the chemistries, lithium, sulfur, solid state batteries, other technologies, still not at a large scale like the other chemistries are operating at, right? So that is on the chemistry front. But I want to move on to the innovation at the system engineering side. Today, a good system engineered battery energy solution can save about 20% of the cost and can basically make the battery a lot more reliable. Just for your example, for an Indian condition today, if a battery energy storage system were to operate at, let's say, a 45 degrees, right, instead of a 30 degrees, right? 45 degrees is fairly common. We are all seeing in many parts of India. Your life of the battery comes down by 40%. Okay, so if you could have a system engineering innovation which basically makes that that much better, you improve the life by 40%, right? So this is on the system engineering, but there is also a very invisible layer, which anyway I'll talk about it subsequently, is the layer of intelligence layer. Today, battery energy storage coupled with renewable energy needs this intelligence layer. I think in the industry parlance is the energy management system. Today, tremendous amount of work is being done. There in terms of adding artificial intelligence, tremendous amount of data analytics and so on and so forth. So that would basically make these systems, lot more, cheaper, lot more cost effective. And for countries like India, where we do not have this much of critical minerals, the only two options is, we rely on people like Attero and then give us this urban mining and then give us the critical minerals. But at the same time, look at system engineering solutions so that, we can actually come up with a, lot more modular, scalable, cost-effective solution. And Cygni, of course, is focusing on precisely these aspects, where we believe that battery energy storage system is going to be a very integral part of our energy mix. And this is going to be driven by innovation, predominantly for conditions which are tailored for India. And there are going to be several companies which are going to focus on these aspects, and then I do see that as a large opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Vishal, moving on to you. So carbon markets are evolving. How do you ensure credibility and transparency in measurement while also preparing for AI-driven verifications for tomorrow?
Sure. So yeah, I'll start by saying carbon credits or carbon markets essentially has fundamentally a trust problem, right? The data integrity problem. How do you know something has been done on the ground? How do you qualify that it has been done? And how does different players in the industry, the validators, the registry bodies, the buyers see what is happening on the ground and really pay for that action on the ground, right? So that is a fundamental crux of the problem we are addressing with technology at Varaha. So we work across biochar, enhanced rock weathering, regenerative agriculture, ARR, different type of carbon credits. We work across different geographies as well. We are active in 4 different countries, working with around 2 lakh farmers. So collecting the data on the farm field from 2 lakh farmers in a network constrained environment, you can imagine the kind of evidences we get, right? So essentially, how do we solve for that evidence is what we are doing at Varaha. So we use all traditional ML practices, like AI is a fancy term now, but the traditional ML part of it, right? Can we collect enough photographs? Can we collect enough videos to really validate something has happened on the ground, on the farm field where the farmer claims that it has happened? So that's what we are essentially building, that layer of, I use this term very actively, which is called proof of work. I borrowed it from crypto world, but yeah, we are in the business of proof of work. And with technology, we are collecting that proof of work and making it available for the buyer. So when they come into our system and say, I want to buy a carbon credit from a farm who has done regenerative agriculture while also hitting some of the co-benefits, right? So they exactly get what they are looking for. And that problem can only be solved with technology, right? So that's where, we are here to put technology in the climate tech, and it's great to see in this forum, technology, in this technology forum, climate tech has been discussed. The rigor that built the internet and the mobile stack of the world is absolutely needed to build the climate tech systems of the world as well, right? So, and this is the right time with, now moving on to the second part of this question, right? What will we do in the AI-driven world? What will change, right? So, one of the things that we are actively looking at is all of the evidences that we are collecting is all like the validation, the systemic integration of all of it is episodic in nature, right? You collect an evidence, you validate it, then you prove something has happened, then you get to the issuance, right? With AI, can we move to a continuous and autonomous verification methodology, right? Where as and when some activity is happening on the ground, can I build an active carbon ledger for every farm field across the globe? That's our vision, and that's where we are heading towards. This answer, I've given the same answer in the last year in one of the panels. This year, I can see this answer is close to reality. We are now building a lot more continuous measurement system, and with that, the trust problem or the carbon integrity problem, right, that is really being solved. So, yeah.
So, a follow-up to that, what role does carbon insetting will play in the supply chain?
Yeah, so carbon insetting, this has gained a lot of heat in the recent times, not only because it kind of makes sense to act on your own scope 3 emissions, but also there is a lot of policy push, regulations being built around this, right? So the policymakers are actively looking at it. India has different mechanisms now. I always get this acronym wrong. It's BRCER or something like that similar. I get these acronyms wrong, but what that essentially means is every public company in India is now asked to report their scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions, and the next step would be to act on it, right? So insetting is definitely need of the hour, and that's the way any company can immediately act on this carbon removal goals, right? So, and we are actively working with a lot more companies in this ecosystem. We have built a couple of projects I would like to name. We did one project with LDC, Louis Dreyfus company last year, right, where they had procured sustainable wheat from their supply chain. We worked with farmers, 500 farmers across UP, and digitized their entire farm activities, what they did, how did they produce sustainable wheat, what kind of practice changes they have done. We have photographic, geo-stamped, geo-referenced photographs, videos of all of this activity happening. It was a lot more operationally intense last year. It's no means an easier activity to do, but that was the start of this entire insetting project for us, and we now scaled that similar project for a sustainable maize project in Maharashtra. We are working with 5,000 farmers across 40,000 hectares, collecting, digitizing the activities that they are doing, what they qualify as sustainable, what they qualify as non-sustainable. So capturing all of those evidences into the platform. So that's the activity we are actively following, and we see insetting is the way to go, and we are happy to be part of these kind of projects in India, and I'm sure this is just a start of it. We are on day one. Insetting is going to grow majorly in India.
Thank you. Moving on to you, Venkat. So, what about solar plus storage, and how is it going to get, are you going to use it commercially, or do you even think that at one point in time it can become the default option?
Yeah, so let's start off with the narrative. The grid world over has been a centralized grid. Right? You had been having this large central power stations, and you had this massive transmission lines, distribution network, and then it was reaching the the end consumer. That narrative is changing, right? Including India, which has now set up more than 100 gigawatt of solar power. That narrative is changing from a centralized grid to a distributed grid. The moment this happens, what happens is today, you would need, grid resilience, right? You would need a mechanism to make sure that, the grid can handle this intermittency. And of course, storage plays a very vital role there, right? So in terms of architectural narrative change, it's changing from a centralized grid to, I think, what is famously known in our network called 5Ds, right? So it is a distributed, decentralized, digitized, decarbonized, and deregulated, right? So all of them, we are seeing that playing out in, many states in India. So what is going to happen is the grid, instead of strengthening from top down, the strengthening is happening at the edges, right? So which is basically at the nodes where the consumption happens. So today, we are seeing that narrative playing out. For example, C&I customers, states like Maharashtra, for those of you who are from Maharashtra, has come up with a Maharashtra policy today where they are mandating, saying that if you do not have a storage with solar, your solar is going to be curtailed, right? So you are going to waste solar there. We are seeing where they can actually use that storage, store it, and their evening peak tariff in these states are in excess of 10 rupees per unit. Okay, with the solar and storage cost coming down, this clearly is a arbitrage which is we are seeing and adapting at a very fast scale, right? And residences, for example, India has been a leader with respect to the what is called as the PM Surya Ghar Yojana, which enables the rooftop solar. We are seeing the rooftop solar with storage because many of the homeowners would want to have a little bit of a grid independency and then want to sort of save on their electricity bill, and most of their consumptions happens during the evening peak hours, right? So we do see, and of course there are, with the electric vehicle charging stations happening, all the charging stations now are having a storage because otherwise to strengthen the distribution grid in many cases turns out to be extremely expensive, right? So we are seeing a lot of use cases. Of course, I think, when we talk about Jindal, they can actually talk about it in a lot more detail because they have already done 1 gigawatt of solar. So you see a solar plus storage narrative playing out in a big way. But how I see in future this is happening is this entire thing is going to be now what I call it as a virtual power plant. Each one of these nodes, as I call it, is going to generate power, is going to store power, is going to optimize power, it's going to trade power, and it is going to basically intelligently manage power, right? So the narrative, what it means is that you are basically moving from a grid where you are either supplying power or taking power from the grid. The narrative is changing to how are you orchestrating the grid, right? Where each of these nodes become very intelligent in its own way. And that's the direction we are seeing. So which basically means that it is going to be lot more of distributed such nodes, and lot more of nodes which are going to make it lot more grid resilient, right? So a lot of work still needs to be done, but that's directionally where I see this going.
Thank you. Pawan, what are some of the innovations in futuristic material recovery technologies that we can expect?
So on the technology front, there are a lot of developments which are required and which I think so is being initiated at our end also. May it be the technology on the recycling aspect, because every day there is a change in the chemistry of the batteries which are coming in, or the electronic waste which was previously with large amount of precious metals in it. Now the precious metal is decreasing. So this is a requirement where a regular R&D has to be done and upliftments have to be done. It is not only limited on the technology aspects which is related to research and development, but technology related to the AI adoption in the systems also. So as Attero, we have looked into the AI aspect where we have tried to incorporate it in our supply chain, which helps on the tracking and traceability of the supply chain from the initial part from where the product is produced. Like in Europe, it is battery passport. In India, there is lot of work going on the battery Aadhaar aspect, where a battery from the OEM comes into the picture, is tracked till the last mile when it is recycled. This would help us to keep the product intact and making sure that the complete tracking and traceability is done and the product is recycled in a proper way. As on date, Attero has the technology, may it be related to recycling of rare earth metals or critical metals, and subsequently bringing it back into the supply chain, providing these green metals, may it be battery grade or much higher specs, so that it can be utilized in different industries.
Thank you. Moving on to you, Kalyan. So how do you balance sustainability goals with global competitiveness?
You see, global competitiveness and the sustainability, they are not a parallel agenda. These are built into the business strategy. Sustainability, basically, it's you cannot say that that's an additionality. You have to adopt sustainability to hedge against future volatility in fuel prices, fossil fuel prices. Like when you move away from fossil-based production, fossil fuel-based production process, like moving away from thermal power to renewable power, which Jindal Stainless has consciously done, and it has already committed to increasing its renewable portfolio rather than adding on to the thermal captive power plant. Because if you are aware, heavy industries do require a base load power plants that supplies continuous electricity 24/7 so that processes are not interrupted. While the challenge with the renewable is the intermittency, and we have coupled wind power with our solar power that's taken our total production, total electricity, renewable electric energy to 1 gigawatt. But the challenge still remains in the intermittency, because if you are aware, even with this wind solar hybrid, you can achieve at the most 35% CUF. So then comes the solution like battery energy storage, which we are exploring. But at present, those cost viability may not match up against that of thermal power. But still, we have consciously defeated the urge to expand into a thermal power production for supporting our production processes. Rather, we have moved it to renewable energy segment. And what brings us to understanding that why sustainability should be ingrained into our processes is because of the global challenges in, let's say, the CBAM coming in from Europe market, the pressures coming in from the customers who are seeking more green products in their supply chain. So the future preparedness for this, and of course, the Indian government has been already following the global trends, and it has introduced the CCTS and then Indian carbon market, where all the companies, obligated entities, they are expected to align to that and reduce their carbon footprint. And JSL was quite ready, and it has already moved into this. So what we see is that the sustainability, which it's basically the fundamentals are increasing process efficiency, reducing wastage, shifting away from fossil-based energy. These all actually increase your business returns. These not only have the environmental, but it also has the economic returns. It is not just the sustainability creates a pressure on your bottom line, but in many cases, sustainability or the alternate clean solutions, they actually tend to give you the business returns. So JSL has been prudent enough, and in its pragmatic approach, it has chosen those short-term initiatives which are quick to deploy, having commercial viability, and looking forward to those changes which we will be bringing in the subsequent years for having deep decarbonization. But then you see, world over, the green premiums are commanding. The green premiums across the world, like the CBAM, they are asking for the carbon border adjustment tax on the products we ship from India, reaching the EU shores. So Indian companies or the Indian products need to be competitive in the global scenario, and competitive with regards to the Europe manufactured products, because it has to match the Europe ETS prices. So what we are looking forward is a tax-based system where though we call it a green premium, because we have to invest in all those carbon reduction technologies to make our product competitive enough in the ETS market. So while the consumers in Europe market, they are paying the green premium because they want to decarbonize their supply chains. On the same side, the companies, the manufacturing companies in India or any other country, they have to prepare their value chain for reducing the carbon footprint, because you see this carbon accounting is not just done for the own operations. It expands beyond your boundaries and goes into the scope 3, where we have to have willing suppliers who want to invest in their carbon reduction so that they can supply us the lower carbon footprint material, which goes into our production processes, reducing our overall product carbon footprint. So the life cycle carbon footprint has to be lower, which will certainly command green premium. And this whole shift in moving away from conventional manufacturing or decarbonization own operation to moving beyond the boundaries and having the entire value chain, right from mineral exploration to transportation to processing and end product distribution, the whole value chain has to be decarbonized. So there has to be this green premiums, it has to be distributed across the value chain partners. It's not just the manufacturing company who must bear it. It has to be distributed across the suppliers, distributed across the consumers. Everybody, contributing to this green premium will certainly pave way for a greener future. So that's our outlook. And that's where we think that moving consciously in these directions will certainly prepare us for the time. So we expect our collaborators, our suppliers, all to follow these sustainability principles. And we can certainly assure that our customers will get green products in future.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very quick, common question. You have to wrap it within 20 seconds. Quick thought. So, what's that one moonshot idea in climate tech which can make today's debates irrelevant tomorrow? Quick thoughts.
20 seconds. So, envisioning a world where it is all distributed, you have these intelligent nodes. So, the moonshot idea is not a better battery, but a better smart grid, which basically handles all of this intelligently.
Vishal.
So moonshot idea, I already mentioned it, ambient measurement. If we can measure how much carbon is actually sequestered on each farm using remote sensing, soil sensors, GPS-enabled machines, the idea is moving away from manually audited to continuously calculated, right? So if we can have a carbon number for every farm in the world remotely at planetary scale, that's the moonshot idea.
Thank you. Pavan.
So what I feel is that the critical metals are available. They are at the wrong place at the wrong time and are not being recovered in the proper manner. The technology is not there. The technology is there with Attero. So the moonshot is basically we can provide the solution and bring these metals back into the supply chain. That's the solution.
Kalyan.
I have two things in mind. One, coming with the due apologies to Mr. Venkat and my co-panelist Pavan. The battery, which we are looking forward as the solution, which may become irrelevant if the nuclear power comes in. The government is investing heavily in 100 gigawatts of nuclear power. So what today we are looking at the battery as the substitute for continuous energy grid, as a replacement for the grid energy, supporting the renewable energy with battery to provide the ready to dispatch renewable energy. That's where the battery comes in. Of course, for smaller application, battery will still be relevant, but for heavy industries, it will have more dependency on the bulk power, which may come from thermal or the nuclear. So government is moving forward to investing more. They are adding 97 gigawatt more in thermal power besides the nuclear energy. So this may turn out to be some shift in future because the battery itself, making the battery out of virgin materials like exploration. Now my co-panelist Mr. Pavan is in the recycling the battery material. That's a very good initiative, but you consider the value chain or the life cycle of a battery where we have to do the exploration and other things, you are actually creating a burden on the climate, and which we have to see how long it survives. So I see the nuclear energy coming in as a new future deal. The other part is the hydrogen, which we see as a deal breaker today. The hydrogen, I don't know the future of hydrogen. It may something else may replace it, whereby hydrogen may become irrelevant. So which are considered the moonshot ideas today, and people are investing heavily in this. Maybe something more will replace it.
Thank you, gentlemen. And with this, we are closing this panel. Thank you so much.